Okie dokie, guys. So, welcome to the channel. This is my 2005 Cadillac STS V8 rear-wheel drive, and we have the shift to park message on the screen once you try to shut the car off. Won't let you get out of the accessory mode without putting it in park somehow. Even though the car registers P on the dash, the shifter is saying, no, I'm not in park. And the problem comes down to a micro switch here inside the shifter, which is this guy right here. This little switch guy. Now, I read this on a forum I had found. A guy gave pictures and a step-by-step instruction on how to disassemble the shifter and how to diagnose the switch as being the problem. Now, I already did the legwork of going underneath the car, disconnecting the shifter linkage, and making sure that that linkage was in park fully. And if that, wiggling that back and forth turned off the shift to park message, well, that was the issue. It was the shifter needed to be adjusted right here because that shaft moves back and has some adjustment, I should say. You got to loosen the nut and be able to move the shaft back and forth on this. But that wasn't the problem for me. And I started having this issue after I swapped in a 2007 Plus shifter. I had, for those that don't know, the 2005 and I think 2006 had an older style shifter. It wasn't quite as pretty. And by magic of the internet, here it is. So this is my original 2005 shifter. And let's see if we can get that to stay there. Just by looking at it, you can see there's a difference. And it just looks a little bit more pretty to me. And I had to swap out the wood bezel trim around here because the bottom has a different design, obviously, than the square. And I have both of those in the car right now, as is, too. They're a little buried, having the interior ripped out, but don't mind the trash. Just that's what happens when you do this unexpected. The car wouldn't shift to park anymore, and I'm like, crap, I gotta rip it apart. So here is the new bezel, and here is the old bezel, which looks pretty sun-faded and ugly, and it was starting to crack, and it was really warped too, so that didn't help at all. But it was only 20-some bucks on eBay for the new one. More matches the rest of the wood trim since this is all faded and matches what's in the car. So just change that out. No big deal. They're the same shape overall. It's just a different cutout. So fun stuff there. Now, I guess I could show you how to disassemble this shifter. And you'll start with taking these little rubber nubs off out of these holes. Now I pulled down on it with my fingers and pushed on the little round part here to help it go through, and then they just popped out. I think the guy said he was using needle nose pliers. You can do it however you like, just try not to break them off. And then you come to the side of the shifter here, and then there's this guy in there. It's got two clips. Focus. Two clips, one on each side. Take a small screwdriver and you pry that out of there. That holds kind of the assembly in there somewhat. I believe it resides in this slider guy there. I could be wrong. But so with that, we come to taking out the four 8mm bolts that reside around here. And put the shifter in manual mode, which for my shifter, I was able to slide this back. That deactivates the lock for the button. And slide it back, pop it over into manual. You'll have to take the shifter off, the handle off, and you just take a small screwdriver and gently pry this silver cover off right here. And then this is a T15 screw that you take out to release the handle. And then you pull the guts out, and this is what you end up with. I just swapped the switch out because I had a spare shifter here, because I found out the hard way that if you want to swap this shifter, which is plug and play, it from an 05 to an 07 shifter, you have to know whether you're buying an all-wheel drive or rear-wheel drive shifter, and it makes a difference. I believe it is the same shifter for V8 and V6, all-wheel drive or rear-wheel drive, but you need to have the one that matches your drivetrain. So I have rear-wheel drive. This one came out of an all-wheel drive. This doesn't say that, but that's what it was. And the difference lies in where the shifter comes out. So this is where the front of the switch sits. This is where it's in park. This comes down to the left. Okay. Come over to my rear-wheel drive shifter. Front switch, if it's in park, comes down and to the right. That makes a world of difference. I found that out the hard way. I mean, I only paid $40 for each shifter, so I'm not out billions of dollars. But, I'll replace this switch and get this functioning properly and sell this shifter. Since it still functioned, it just, this one was a good functioning one. This one just had an issue ever since I put this one in. But, so, not hard at all. Takes 10-15 minutes. I could put the link for that article in the description, and it's a step-by-step. It's very simple. Now, he also went through what you're going to need to read on an ohm meter and how to read it. He said pin 1 and pin 6, and he showed the diagram. It's this top pin on the left and bottom pin on the left, and I just back probed them with some back probe leads I've got. If you've got some alligator clips you can get on in there, that's fine. However you want to do it, just make sure leads don't touch so you don't skew your reading. But I think I had it in the 2,000 or 20,000 ohm range, and that's how I got my reading correctly. He said with it in park, not holding the button, just in park stationary, it should read, what was it? I don't remember now. Anyway, I believe it's when the switch is not pressed, which would be what? In park, out of park? Ooh, when the switch is released, it should be 0 ohms, I believe. Yes, when the switch is released, it should be 0 ohms or infinite. I don't remember. It's either 0 or infinite. I don't know. I'm sorry. I already forgot, but because I was getting two different readings between the good switch and the bad switch. I want to say with the switch released, it was going to be infinite ohms. I don't know. It's one of the two. Read the article. I'm telling you, it gives you a whole lot better info than I have. It's super simple. Something you can do your own. But you do have to pull the center console out. So I'll tell you how to do that, because this can be a pain if you don't know what you're doing. So what you're going to have to do is come down here, pull the carpet back. There are two bolts, two 10mm bolts right here. You'll slide the seat all the way forward and all the way. And just for the sake of the video, I'm not gonna, or actually it is over here. There are two bolts over here, one here and one here, two 10mm bolts. That's what bolts the console in. These are your air ducts for the rear vents. There's an electrical plug right here, which usually sits down way over here. And then you've got these two plugs towards the front bolts on this side. You know, they're identical, two bolts on each side, each corner, I should say. And then 4 10mm nuts you pull off for the shifter, a 10mm nut to pull off on the bottom side underneath the car. And then you'll have to pry these wing nuts open to release the shaft. It's kind of finicky, can be finicky, and it's not too bad though once you've done it a couple times, like me. So, you know, I wasn't wanting to do this 2-3 times, but it is what it is. I couldn't live with not being able to put the car in park. You're sitting outside somebody's house and you're sitting there beating on the shifter, rattling it around. You're like, come on, go to park. And I just can't be doing that. That's just obnoxious. Yours may or may not have this little wing to deactivate the lockout solenoid. Like on this one, it did not. So all you gotta do is pull this forward and that releases the lock button. So that's that. And how I knew immediately that I was gonna have to replace the switch is I took the good known working switch or shifter before I even disassembled anything and plugged it into the car, and immediately it shut off. So, or the shift to park shut off, the accessory shut off. So that was great. I'm glad I'll be able to pop it right in park and be done. So the one thing you'll have to know if you're going to do this swap from an 05 to an 07 shifter is you can see I've got everything down to 4, whereas the 07 and up has everything down to drive, and that's it. Now the 05 transmission will still recognize a 4th gear, and the problem that we're going to end up having is there's very little space here between park and reverse. Very little. Come over here and that space almost doubles. So, and that's what they did to kind of take up the lack of the 4th gear. I don't know why. That's my guess at least. So on this shifter, that space doesn't exist inside your 05 transmission. So you have to adjust the linkage properly, and you're probably going to want to do it so that the shifter's in park, the car's in park, and then put your shaft on the bottom here, bolt it up tight. You'll see it in the space, the adjustment space on the shaft, or the rod linkage, it'll be all the way back, tight against the, you'll see. And that will allow you to easily put it into park. Now, you got to be careful when you put it in drive, because you could fairly easily, you'll put it in drive, and drive will be kind of about here, and if it'll pop back a little bit with some effort, I mean, it's pretty easy to accidentally put it in 4th gear at that point. So, of course, the display will say 4th gear, but you just pop it back up into D. And getting it over into sport's kind of tricky-ish at that point. It's not terrible, but it's interesting. You got to almost kind of force it, but you pop it back over and it'll be in drive. But otherwise, if you try and adjust it like I did the first time, so that way when you pull it back, it just goes into drive, you'll have a heck of a time getting it in park to lock in. Like the shifter will go up, but the button won't unlock until you push the button up, and it takes a bit of force. And just for safety reasons, I just wanted to be able to easily put it into park, and I'll live with being able to throw it down in 4 if I need to for whatever reason. But maintain that, but just know it's kind of quirky. And I looked online, the safety neutral switch for the transmissions are different between 05 and 07. You can't just go and swap them out, apparently, which is a disappointment, because I was really hoping to be able to put the safety neutral switch from an 07 in my transmission, so I only had park, reverse, neutral, drive, and in that distance, so it would work just like as if it was in an 07 from the factory. But apparently, totally different safety neutral switches, different designs, different plugs. One's a female, one's a male plug. I mean, why they totally changed it, I don't know, but makes it kind of a pain for people that want to modify their cars. And some people are going to say it's pointless. Some people are going to say it's just cosmetic. Why would you care? Oh, I don't understand why people even ask those questions. Why not? Why not? You have the freedom to do it. Why not? It's plug and play. It's a little quirky, but it's not horrible. So I'm going to get this thing put back together, and we're going to pop it in the car and make sure she's up to working standards. But I hope this helps you guys figure out whether this switch is bad here or not. They're all in the link. He also described bending that metal tab for the switch. So, because like this one, he shows you a measurement. I believe the one in the new switch has already been modified, but you end up bending this metal tab so it makes better contact. It ends up forcing the switch up to make better contact. But that wasn't the issue with mine. The switch is just bad altogether. I mean, it was supposed to go from from infinite ohms down to like near 0 ohms. And mine started out with an ohm and then went to infinite. So it was backwards, and it wasn't anywhere near 0 ohms. It was like 600 something. So the switch has gone rogue, and it's just what it is. So, like I said, hope this helps you guys. Let you know what you guys think down in the comments, and good luck. Thanks for watching. God bless.